Good morning. Welcome to this service of worship at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson. I'm Holley Ulbrich. I'm a member of the Worship Associates team. And I'd like to make sure that all of you feel welcome, that we are a congregation that welcomes everyone regardless of race, color, gender, identity, sexual orientation, disability, or beliefs. We celebrate shared values as an expression of as expressed in our principles and our affirmation, rather than a shared creed or set of beliefs. We especially welcome visitors, and if you feel up to it, if you're a visitor, you're welcome to stand and introduce yourself. Do we have any visitors that would like to do that? First time, second time, been away a long time, all of those count. Okay. I'd like to remind you that you are invited to attend social time after the service down the end of the hallway and visit with us. I have a few announcements. The most important one is that Sunday, the 17th of March, St. Patrick's Day, we will be installing our settled minister, Reverend Holley Brown. And if you are going to come to the installation and the reception, either or both, but if you come to the reception, you should probably come to the installation too. Anyway, we need you to RSVP, so we'll have a head count by March 1st. So if you haven't done that, when you go home, get on your computer and respond. Thank you. Other upcoming events, on March 3rd, there is a UU and U class, RSVP to the office. There's a hula hike on March 8th. We need volunteers for hospitality. We need volunteers to usher. I'm looking for some volunteers that are interested in participating in UU the Vote. It's an effort by the South Carolina Unitarian Universalist Justice Alliance. Please remember that that's SCUJA, so we don't have to recite it every time. I think that's pretty much it in terms of announcements. And our opening hymn is number 131, Love Will Guide Us. Our opening words are by the Reverend Dr. David Breeden. Welcome to this place where equity and justice transcend mere dreams, where they are the air we breathe. Enter this sanctuary, all who yearn for respite from a world rife with scarcity and inequity. rife with the relentless shackles of privilege and bias. Come, embrace this space. Be embraced by this place, this refuge where scarcity and disparity dissolve into we together, crafting a place where the breath of life is equity and justice, cherished, manifested, sustained.
All right. Hello and welcome again. I am Reverend Holley Brown. I am the minister here, which most Sundays you see me wearing a stole, but today I'm not because my office won't unlock and let me get to my stoles. So I'm still a minister, I'm just saying stole today. And as we light our chalice, I invite Aurelia to come forward and assist me with lighting the chalice, and invite all of you that are here this morning to join in reading the fellowship's affirmation, which you can find in your order of service. We gather together in the spirit of love, with justice as our guide. This is our chosen covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth with freedom, and to care for one another. Thank you, Aurelia. And another change to the service, a little bit different today. I'm filling in for the part of Karen Hebel, the Director of Lifespan Faith Formation, because she's out sick this Sunday. So pretend I put on another hat. All right. And so our time for all ages this morning is all the way to the top. How one girl's fight for the Americans with disabilities changed everything. All right. So Jennifer Killian may be small, but her voice is mighty. Yee-haw! Snowball responds, speeding up the walk to a trot. Jennifer loves to go fast, but she knows that she will soon have less time for riding since she is finally old enough for school. She can't wait to make new friends. She's ready to go. The school's not far. Jennifer rolls outside, down the sidewalk to the corner, but stop! A 4-inch curb. It's a cliff to someone who uses a wheelchair. Her grandpa eases her wheelchair over the curb. Though the drop jolts Jennifer, she makes it to the building. But stop! The school says Jennifer doesn't belong there because she uses a wheelchair. Instead, Jennifer and her mom find a different school that she can attend kindergarten, but only for part of the afternoon when lunch is over. As Jennifer rolls in each day, everyone is already busy. She has to figure out what's going on and how to join in. Most kids have never met someone who uses a wheelchair. Her classmates are confused and even a little afraid. "You'll never be one of us," some say. Jennifer knows they're wrong. She's a friend just waiting to happen. But how do you change someone's mind? She's not sure, but she's not about to give up. Jennifer and her family hear about activists who are working to make sure people with disabilities have access to places like schools. They want to know more, so they attend a strategy meeting. Jennifer has never seen anything like it. The room is full of grown-ups with all sorts of disabilities. Some use wheelchairs, some use canes. None of them are sitting around waiting for things to change. They're shouting, laughing, and planning a big protest that get wheelchair lifts on buses. They turn to Jennifer. "Do you want to come?" Yes, she wants to go. Downtown, Jennifer rolls to the microphone and tells her story. She leads marchers through the streets, chanting, "The people united will never be defeated." It feels good to speak up for what she believes in. She can't afford to do it. She can't wait to do it again. She's raring to go. She protests in Phoenix, rolls through the streets in San Francisco, waves signs in Montreal. The demonstrations don't always change people's mind, but Jennifer is used to that. Even when her neighborhood school finally agrees she can attend and her classmates with disabilities aren't allowed to eat in the cafeteria with everyone else. Working with other activists, she revs up. She can't help but noticing that she and her sister are usually the only kids out there raising their voices. Still, she can't leave all of the protesting up to the adults. She knows firsthand that children with disabilities get ignored too, so she keeps speaking up. When Jennifer is 8, activists propose a new law called the American with Disabilities Act, or ADA. The law insists schools, governments, and businesses make room for all people, including those with disabilities. Jennifer feels like dancing. If it passes, it means sidewalk curbs cuts, buildings with ramps in addition to steps, and elevators with braille panels. It means Jennifer and her classmates with disabilities can finally go to the cafeteria with everyone else for lunch. Jennifer and her family watch the news for updates on the ADA, but the reporters never mention it. She switches off the TV in frustration, wishing she could change reporters' minds on what's worth talking about. Instead, the Keelans get their updates about the ADA when activist friends call. It's bad news. Members of Congress say the law will be too complicated and too expensive. They say it's just not worth it. Since the news station is ignoring people with disabilities, Jennifer and her friends are determined to find another way to make Congress hear their voices. It's go time. Her family buys plane tickets to Washington, D.C. As they march down Pennsylvania Avenue, Jennifer has never shouted louder. What do we want? The ADA. When do we want it? Now. Finally, they reach the U.S. Capitol, but stop. The mountain of steps blocks Jennifer and other people using wheelchairs from the building where Congress makes the laws. Grown-ups slide out of their wheelchair and start pulling themselves up the steps. They will make sure members of Congress know they are here. Jennifer's heart races. This is what she's been shouting about. I want to climb the steps, she says. But stop. The grown-ups think she's too young. You can't do it. Jennifer knows this is not just about her. It's about her friends at school who were shut out of the cafeteria at lunch. It's about millions of other kids she never met who get stopped at every turn. Jennifer wants to speak up for all of those kids with disabilities who aren't there. I need to climb the steps. She slides out of her wheelchair, scoots along the sidewalk to the bottom of the stairway, and puts her hands on the first step. She hauls herself up. Tiny bits of dirt and rock dig into her skin. She drags herself up another step. The crowd roars. Reporters surround her with cameras and microphones recording her gutsy climb. "I'll take all night if I have to," she vows, and she keeps heaving and hauling and dragging herself up the steps. She keeps going all the way to the top. Pictures of Jennifer climbing the steps flash around the world. Reporters start talking about the ADA. Members of Congress see the news, listen to activists, and finally pass the ADA. Laws like the ADA don't change overnight. Entrances have to be rebuilt, sidewalks redesigned, buses re-engineered. Slowest of all, minds have to change. So Jennifer will continue shouting and waving signs, organizing and explaining. She will continue to fight for what she knows is right. Jennifer has places to go, and nothing will stop her now. The end.
This is the time we set aside for the offering in order to give toward the financial health of our community. Also, 25% of the unpledged weekly offering goes to an organization in the local community that we partner with. For the month of February, we are partnering with Ripple of One. For those of you at home, you can go to the UUFC website and use the donate button. There you will see options for paying your pledge and donating toward the organizations we partner with. Thank you for your generosity.
Thank you all for your generosity. Your gifts help make the ministries of this congregation possible. And another ministry of this congregation is the sharing of joys and concerns. It is a sacred time of being able to share about ourselves, what we are going through. Whether it is something we say aloud or whether we hold it close to our hearts. As I read the joys and concerns that we have here today, I've asked Holley to place a stone into this shared vessel, which represents this community of caring. Carol Ward shares her joy that she delivered 90.5 pounds of food to CCC, which I believe stands for Clemson Community Cares. Okay, yes. And then Michael Cole shares a concern. There are efforts underway by conservative groups to remove books from the Pickens County Public Library about LGBTQ and critical race theory. They're going to the library board and county council meetings. Meg Williamson offers many thanks to Meg MacArthur for showing up on a cold, windy day to pull weeds. And Mike Hefferman shares concern that his sister-in-law, Leanne LeBlanc, is in the ICU at AnMed Medical Center. 3 surgeries in the past 5 days, blood clots, kidney failure, and internal bleeding. That's... Kathy Crane shares her pride. The white flag announcing a freezing night was on display outside of our daily rest as UUFC team delivered the meal last week. Thank you to Janie Shipley for your continued leadership, for UUFC's partnership with this homeless shelter, especially on this very cold night. And happy birthday to Gordon Crane. Yes, let's see. And then Karen York shares sadness for Leslie Visage as she deals with the death of her older brother from a heart attack earlier this past week. And we have a joy from Chinfu, fun talks in UU men's group and fun work as a poll worker. Okay.
Virginia Lloyd's sister, Jane Parrish, diabetes.
And Holly, can you repeat that name for me?
Jane Parrish.
Jane Parrish.
She's a member of this congregation.
Who is a member of this congregation, had...
She died.
She died this past
she's also
week.
The sister of Jane Lloyd.
Okay, yeah. So,
Jane Parrish. Jane Parrish, Jenny's sister.
Jane Parrish, Jenny's sister. Oh. And I also share a concern that I bring in this morning, that my heart has been breaking this week as I have learned about the death of Nex Benedict, a non-binary, two-spirit Choctaw youth following a beating in the school bathroom. My heart is with all of my trans and non-binary siblings who are witnessing and feeling this lost in the midst of everything going on in our world. And we place one more stone in the bowl, representing the joys and concerns that remain unspoken today. So we're going to switch gears kind of radically now after that moment of holding these joys and concerns, and we'll return to them again in a prayer. But this morning, we have a second time for all ages, and it's an interactive one. That means anybody that would like to participate can help us out. So we have a visual representation of what access does in our lives, what makes a difference in where we are located, what we have are as far as our physical abilities, our mental abilities, our financial abilities. And so Mel has a bunch of soft snowballs that people can use, throwing carefully, don't bonk anybody in the back of the head or anything, but anybody in the congregation that would like to participate is invited to do so. Now, we would like a few of you to stay seated. We would like some of you to try from further back in the room. And we would like some of you to try from just different places in the room. Now, we're going to move this just a little bit more into the center. And because we want to make sure nobody's wild throw hits the chalice, okay? So be very careful. So, who would like a snowball? All right, and we don't have to wait until everybody gets one. But the goal is that from your position, whether it's from your seated position or from your standing position, that you try to put your ball in this bucket that is sitting in this chair. All right. Oop. Well, we got it in a secondary bucket. Okay, if somebody's closer. Okay. They're squishy. Yeah. Okay. So, if y'all will pick up a few of the balls that didn't make it in, I have a few questions for you. Did you notice a difference depending on how far away you or other people were from the bucket? Okay. If you, yes, that's okay. So, all right, JB, Joaquin, Aurelia, everybody, if we can hold on for just 1 minute, I'm going to have some chances for you to try again, okay? Okay. So, if you were sitting down, was it harder? Yeah? If you were standing up, but were far away, was it harder? If you were closer, did it help? A little bit? It varied. If you were uncoordinated and unathletic, like some of us, did you also have trouble? Yes. Okay. So, individuals that have the ability to stand up or move around are going to find it easier. But what if, like in the story, there are barriers, things that prevent you from getting closer, that make a difference? And this doesn't just mean physical proximity. Also, if you don't have a good school to go to, do you think your education is going to be as good? No? Right. So if you grew up really, really poor with a wage gap, if you're a person of color, meaning, or a woman that makes less money just by the type of position, even if it's the same, the placement of value on how much we can produce and how good a job we can do. But what happens if we help each other? So if anybody has some balls out here still, now, this is where JB, Joaquin, and Aurelia, will y'all help me? If somebody has a ball out in the room, what happens if you offer to help move that ball forward in the room? You willing to help? Anybody have a ball they need help getting to the front of the room? Okay. Can one of y'all help with these balls that are around the room? Okay. Perfect. Yes, practice helps. But even if you don't make it from back there, what if you come forward pretty close to the bucket? You can come forward. All right. All right, Aurelio, if you want to try tossing one and then come up and just walk up to the bucket with the other one. What if you walk all the way up? All right. So, depending on where you are in the room, depending on what kind of help you have, we can work together to make a difference. We can work together to make change that is necessary in our world. And so, I want to thank you all for your participation in this interactive time for all ages. I don't know about y'all, but I had a lot of fun. But if there are balls left on the floor, please be careful that you don't step on one of them or slip. And I want to send a message to our folks that are watching in the back room that we know that you're there. I was told that we have about 10 folks back there, and I'm sorry we didn't think to have a setup for you back there so you could participate as well. All right. Yay, thank you. Now, if you will join in singing our children on their way to their RE classrooms, or words are on the screen. So we're going to change the pace a little bit again to enter into a spirit of prayer and meditation. May this invitation of prayer and meditation embrace this holy house and each precious person, moving each and all to connect with a sense of affirmation, sound, movement, or silence, in whatever way your body knows to be true. Spirit of life and love, our hearts are overflowing with lamentation and longing for a world with more hope and less despair, longing for more happy hearts and fewer hungry mouths, longing for a life of more connection and less isolation, longing for a brave love, a growing seed within us, spreading far and wide, longing for a future of less consumption and more compassion, actually longing for the now, longing for a government that quells hate and violence rather than generating it, longing for a president that speaks the truth, longing for a nation that acknowledges its injustices and works to make them right, longing for a present for each of us doing what is ours to do, to resist racism and other forms of systemic oppression, longing for companions to give us courage that we might be the people these times require to bring about the beloved community. In this circle of care and compassion, We hold those who have shared their joys with us, for each shared joy is a form of nourishment for all of us. In this circle of care and compassion, we faithfully witness those who have shared their sorrows with us, for each shared sorrow touches our hearts, and we accept the call to lighten the burden of our friend. In these next few moments of shared stillness, as the music plays, let our hearts pray the prayers that only they know.
The words of Donald Robinson. Many people use the term social justice in self-serving ways. What they mean by social justice is just us. But social justice can only begin with the interaction between fortunate people and those who are disadvantaged. It is incumbent upon those who, by virtue of the accident of birth or other circumstances, have good jobs, good educational backgrounds, and good lives, to come to the assistance of those who face formidable obstacles to getting an education and leading fulfilling lives. Social justice insists that these people are not their circumstances, they are their possibilities. Social justice demands that all people, regardless of their birth circumstances, are entitled to a fair chance at life, that every person has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
I sing this song not to you, but for you, because I know this is the truth of who we all are. Take these words in. I am light, I am light. 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 I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dreams I left behind. I am light. I am light. I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. All light, yeah. I am divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light.
Hi, YouTubers. I'm excited to give you an update about our own YouTube channel. Now you can find new videos every day. They're the kind of videos that will make you look at life differently. They may even make you laugh a little bit. Who doesn't need a daily dose of that? So here's just a taste of some of what you'll see. Subscribe to the OWN channel.
Okay, who noticed that the song in your order of service was not what you just watched? Couple of you. So I felt like we were maybe doing a little bit more of an emotional roller coaster if I kept the other song. And when I was writing this sermon, I realized that the plan that I had for writing about the hope of our opportunities and what we have access to changed. So I changed the video last minute, yesterday, and our tech folks managed to roll with it and make sure that we had it ready to go. But rather than joy as resistance that the other video spoke of, I felt the need to remind myself and all of us of that spark that is within us and that carries us through in moments of heartache and hopelessness. Shifting how opportunity creates change in the world to wanting to talk about the types of opportunities that are being hindered by the laws that are being passed in this country. Now, as a minister, as a religious tradition, I cannot profess any particular political party or any particular individual running for office. But what we can do is make sure that we and others show up to vote. And what we can do is to disrupt these horrific laws that are being put in place, things that are limiting our access. Harm is being inflicted on people and the rights that are being stripped away one by one. While it might not affect us today, it might tomorrow. Whether it is the book bans removing opportunities to learn about African American history or what could be considered critical race theory, even in the midst of Black History Month, those discussions are happening here in our county, in Pickens County. And some of our folks are attending those conversations. Book banning related to LGBTQIA issues. This week, I received a report of what has been discussed here in Pickens County. And I was just like, oh, feels like deja vu. Coming from Florida, where they've already banned these kinds of books, and not just the books, but AP African American history classes, and even AP psychology, because it talked about the LGBTQ identities. Limiting access to information is certainly a bit different in this age of technology, but it signifies a shift that could eventually impact all forms of media if we don't respond. This past week in Alabama, the state Supreme Court ruled that frozen embryos could be considered children. There are serious concerns of what this could mean for in vitro fertilization, or IVF, people that are seeking that for creating their families, but also clinics that are deciding not to continue offering it until they know the impact of these laws. At this time, the Attorney General says that IVF families will not be prosecuted, although that doesn't say the clinics. There's a chance that this ruling could limit the opportunities of families in the state, some even considering whether they should move it out of state to protect their opportunities. And we can't know what the fallout of that will be yet. Yet it is one more way that the government is legislating away our rights. A frozen embryo could have more rights than a woman to their bodily autonomy and the choice as to whether or not to have a child, even at the risk of extreme birth defects or stillbirths. In this state and in many across the country, laws are being passed that make gender-affirming care illegal, at least for trans youth, including puberty blockers, including even the basic care. And there's even the possibility that hormone treatment could be taken away from adults that have transitioned. And in Florida, I saw this happen and know that it's conversations happening in many places, that children that are trans can be ripped away from their family, put in foster systems because it is deemed unsafe to have their family support them. And on the other side of it, trans and non-binary youth, through schools or others that know about their identities, they could be outed to their families and placed at even greater risk. There's already a risk for LGBTQIA youth. They're likely to experience bullying, whether it is physical or emotional, from their peers and adults. They are more likely to experience violence, more likely to take their own lives due to the impact of bullying and violence. They are more likely to be kicked out of their homes by their families, and depending on the resources that are available to them, they could be forced to live on the streets. Every year, organizations and congregations across the country hold Transgender Day of Remembrance services in November. We planned on doing one here, but I had COVID. And so we'll plan again for next year. But just in 2023, 33 trans and non-binary people's murders were recorded. The thing is, these numbers do not reflect all of the violence and the murder and the death, because so many families and authorities misgender and dead name those that are deceased. I am heartbroken this week. Usually I don't speak from something that is this personal. But it breaks my heart to know that a 16-year-old non-binary child going to the bathroom just to have access to go to the bathroom inflicted a beating in which they died the following day from their injuries. When we talk about opportunity, it shouldn't be opportunity to just grow up. As part of a statement, the Side with Love campaign said, "While the details are still emerging, one thing is extraordinarily clear. Hateful policy and hateful theology are deadly. The ongoing dehumanization of trans and non-binary people by elected officials and hate groups fuels inhumane actions." End quote. This isn't new. Sadly, not all of these stories end with, thankfully, not all of these stories end with death. But in this moment, in writing this sermon this week, I am angry and I'm upset. And I couldn't think of much else to talk about. Back in 2016, I was serving on the PFLAG board, which is the parents and families of lesbian and gays. At that time, we were facing the so-called bathroom bill in North Carolina. But it really wasn't about bathrooms then, and it's still not about bathrooms now. It's about justifying hate. I knew the Thompson family through my involvement at PFLAG. The mother, grandfather, and trans teenage boy went before the House of Representatives when the bill that was being discussed back in 2016 happened with little warning, which if anybody has been paying attention to the news here in South Carolina, they kind of followed that in these conversations at the beginning of the legislative session this year. Sky, the trans teen, told the representatives about how he had been bullied and assaulted at school. He told them that if they passed this bill, he was adding their names to the list of his bullies. Despite his and others' testimony, the bill still passed. I learned later that Sky dropped out of school to avoid more bullying. And he's not the only one. At least he's still alive. I wish that Nex had the opportunity to grow up. I want to talk about opportunities and how we have access to different opportunities from different places in our lives, like the Time for All Ages showed us. But I think we're just struggling to maintain the opportunities that we have some days. Rights that are being stripped away. None of us, not a single one of us, is immune. At any moment, our life circumstances could change and our access, our rights could be on the chopping block. We are at risk. Everything that we hold dear as you use. While I have been feeling all of this, I have had to remind myself to hold on to hope. Man, sometimes finding that hope is really hard. Hope that we can stem the tide, that we can object to the legislation, to show up to vote, to make our voices count, to live our UU values. I have hope that even in the midst of my sorrow this week, that together we can make a difference. Most of all, I believe that we can care for one another and those in our community, that we have been for those that have been most directly impacted, both here in our counties that we live in South Carolina, and in the nation. The video that I shifted to, I Am Light by India R.E., helped remind me of the hope, the spark that is within us, that we cannot turn away, that we must recognize each other and the world that we are part of. And as you heard in the first time for all ages, something that is often repeated at rallies and protests is, the people united will never be defeated. There is power in coalition building. If we are united for justice, then it means that we are creating something more inclusive, not less. The goal is not to be divisive, because if we are united for justice, even when measures are defeated, even when we feel hopeless, there is still the ongoing work. Continue to support the larger movement for justice, because every victory creates ripples. May we create ripples in the world. May we create a world where there is more justice. May it be so. May we make it so. And blessed be. You are now invited to rise in body, mind, or spirit, wherever you are, to join in singing verses 1 and 4 of number 354, We Laugh, We Cry. I was asked to pass a message along to you, so I'm going to include those before our closing words. Today is the end of the Lunar New Year, and to mark its conclusion, our children will be taking part in the traditional lantern ceremony following the service. All who would like to join are welcome. May we continue to create the ripples in the world, to create change, but also to continue to create hope in ourselves and in one another. Go in peace and return in love. Amen.